Hello students, hopefully you are in a good conditions. What our discussion for this time is about the active voice and passive voice. The two patterns of the sentences are quite widely used by students and English speakers, whether it is in the spoken English or in the written form. You need to know the structures, the uses, and the forms in the sentences. That's our discussion for this time. How and why do we use the passive? That is the basic questions compared to the active sentence, because there are two forms, passive and active. Why should we use active and why we should use passive? Automatically passive is normally in the sentence for the written form, but in active is normally for the spoken expressions. But in details, let us see. Let's look at the common reasons why we use the passive voice. Number two, the passive voice in cohesion and coherence. What is the function? That is the reason it is normally used in the written form for the cohesion and coherence. The next one, there are many kinds of the voice of the passive voice in different forms. So let's start this one by one. The function number one is the common use of the passive. Tim's house was broken into last week and no one has been arrested yet. You can see this was broken into and has been arrested. The two bold expressions here will be different when the sentence changed into active. The second one, I know, but didn't you hear? The police said the door had been locked. When had been locked is used here, also another expressions of the passive sentence instead of the active expression. Look at first girl number one, this one, and the section in bold. Do we know who broke into the house? Was broken into. Who broke the house? The answer is no, we don't know. The next one, who usually arrests people for crimes? And we understand normally only police officer. The police. It is already known. It is widely understood. It is like a general truth. The next one, does girl number one, this girl, ever mention who broke in or the word the police here? No, it is not mentioned. This girl didn't say who broke in and didn't mention the police, but just has been arrested. But we understand who did it. No, right? That's the answer. Look at girl number two, this girl. Who do you think was responsible for not locking the door? Said the door hadn't been locked. This girl didn't mention the persons, but we know it must be Tim because the house belongs to Tim. So Tim was responsible for that, but he didn't do it. Do you think girl number two knows who didn't lock the door? The answer is yes. This girl knows, but this girl doesn't mention Tim in this sentence. That's the reason the sentence now is in passive form. Use number one, when the agent is unknown, or when the agent, the subject is obvious, or the agent is not important. Tim's house was broken into last week and no one has been arrested yet. Here, was broken into. Who broke into the house? We don't know, unknown. We don't know who broke in. The next one, has been arrested. No one has been arrested. But we understand the only one who arrests this is obvious. You are talking about the police. The next one, to avoid talking of responsibility or blame. Sometimes we don't want to blame someone else. We don't want to talk who is responsible for that. And that is the use of the passive expression here? I don't know, but didn't you hear? The police said the door hadn't been locked. Here, you avoid saying or talking about who was responsible or who to blame in this situation. Who is responsible for this? We know it. The speaker doesn't want to point the blame at the person. The speaker doesn't want to say Tim who left the door unlocked. So the girl just avoids mentioning Tim. Notice how the passive voice can be in all tenses and all structures. And this is our discussion after this. Functions is the cohesion and coherence. The passive voice can help a text be more cohesive and coherent. Look at this example. Maria has fallen over and broken her leg. She has been taken to the hospital where she will be operated on. Look at now this sentence. Maria has fallen over. This is active. The next one, she has been taken. This is passive. And she will be operated. This is also passive sentence. Don't worry, this girl replied. I've read about the doctors there. They were all trained at the best universities. The meaning here, responding to this, they were all trained at the best universities. They refers to the doctors. Look at what the boy says. The subject is the same. Maya, she has been taken to the hospital where she will be operated on. So the subject is all the same. Who is the subject? That is Maria. Which of the clauses are passive? That is, she has been taken and she will be operated. Okay. The next one, do you think using the same subject makes the text more or less consistent? The answer is more consistent, because we understand what the sentence is. The continuation of the sentence is easy to be understood here. The next one, to be coherent, we often start a clause with previously given information. Maria has fallen over and broken her legs. This is the introductions, the information. The object of the previous clause becomes the subject of the text. We can use the passive voice to do this. And look at what the girl says and find example of this. I've read about the doctors. They were all trained. So here the doctors is what? I've read all about the doctors here. Doctors here is the object. Now doctors change into the subject. This is what we call cohesion and coherence. Number 3, to make text more consistent by starting clause with the same subject. You can say it, the subject is me. Maria has fallen over and broken her leg. She has been taken to the hospital where she will be operated on. So when you see the subject is Maria and she again, the same subject, right? Remember, the same subject. And then has been taken, will be operated. This is the passive voice to help us to do this. You can use the same subject all, that this is active and this is passive. It's possible to be used here. Number 4, the use of the passive in the cohesive and coherence is to make text more coherent by always starting a sentence with the given information. The information that has been mentioned and stated previously. Don't worry, I've read about the doctors. Automatically, this doctor related to what the doctors do through the treatment for Maria. They were all trained at the best universities. The doctors, and the other informations about the doctors is they were all trained at the best university. Doctors, and they, this is the object of the clause 1, now becomes the subject of the clause 2. Okay, the next one is How do we make the passive? Complete now the table with the correct boxes. See now, Tim's house was broken into. No one has been arrested. The door hadn't been locked. She will be operated on. They were trained. See now, right? What are the auxiliary verbs to be? Subject. The next one, past participle. I guess you know the subject is this, right? And then the auxiliary verb is this. And this is all the past participle. So that is the positions of this, right? Which part of the structure changed depending on the tense? Just this, right? The auxiliary verb. The verb to be. Change, right? Based on the tense. Past, present perfect, past perfect, future simple, and simple past. How do we make the passive? So this is the positions. Okay. Tim's house was broken into. Okay. This is the position, the subject, the auxiliary verb to be, and past participle. How the verb to be changed depending on tenses? Can't you see it now? When will be, future simple, hadn't been, that's past perfect, was past simple, has been, present perfect. The main verb is always in past participle, all of them in past participle. Operated on, arrested, broken into, and trained. In the passive voice, the subject is not the agent. The subject is not the agent. The person, the thing doing the actions. In order to mention the agent, we can add by here. Should be by. Tim's house was broken into by who? This is the subject or the agent, but it is not mentioned here. By friend, that's one example. If you want to put, and this is basically the agent or the subject, but this is not the object into the subject in the passive sentence. Alright, let's start with the practice now. Now the practice activities, change the sentence from the active to passive voice. You don't need to mention the agent. Okay. The ambulance took her to the hospital last night. So this is the subject, this is the predicate, this is the object. What is the answer for this? Yeah, she was taken to the hospital last night. Took is simple past with the to be, was taken, took it, changed into the past participle, and her as the object changed into the subject. Okay, the ambulance, it's not mentioned anymore because it is general truth, or it is widely known by people. Number 2, the headmaster has spoken to Ariana about her behavior. Has spoken to. What is the subject here? The headmaster. Has spoken is the predicate. This is in present perfect. So what is the passive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you guess it now? Yes, it is. Ariana has been spoken to about her behavior. Has been spoken to, and Ariana is placed as the subject before in the active sentence. Ariana is the object of the sentence, but now in the passive, Ariana is the subject of the sentence. Number 3, everyone at the party had eaten all the cake before Jude arrived. Everyone here, that is the subject of the sentence in the active. All the cake is the object, and had eaten in the past perfect tense. Can you guess the answer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, sure. Want to see? Okay. All the cake had been eaten before Jude arrived. So had been eaten is coming from this, had eaten. All the cake, this one is the object. Just change into the subject. See, and everyone is missing, it's not mentioned anymore because it is not necessary. The next one, read the text, and after that you try to make it more coherent. So the first text is not coherent. This is the way you understand what is coherent and coherence. After that you change into the passive constructions. The sentence is more coherent afterward. This is the question. School leavers face a number of difficult challenges. However, they can overcome many of these challenges by simply talking to a school counselor. Courses train the school counselors to listen to students and give advice. Students might accept this advice or not, but the most important thing is the process of discussing future options. Can you see here? Okay, a number of difficult challenges. Say they here. They is the school leavers. They can overcome. So this is the object. Okay, can you change it? The next one is a school counselor. The school counselors here. Okay, courses train the school counselors. Can you see here? Students might accept this advice or not. See this sentence. This is the object. Okay. Can you guess now this? Change the sentence into passive to make it more coherent. If you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can guess, let's see if your answer is right or not. See, school leavers face a number of difficult challenges. However, many of these challenges, see this, it's coming from here, challenges, can be overcome. They, or automatically is known as the school leavers, change, it's not by them anymore, by simply talking to a school counselor. School counselors are trained, see, further information about school counselors, are trained to listen to students and give advice. This advice, see, this advice might be accepted or not. So it is now much better in coherence and coherence. Okay, students, I think that's all about these explanations. I know you still need more questions about that. You can put in the comment, or you can ask in the further meeting with your teacher and do the exercises or the practice assigned by your teacher. See you. Bye bye.